Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm your host, John Gonzalez, alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder, and in studio, Ashley Nicole Moss, who I understand has been making friends at the coffee place with other Knicks fans. Is that what happened today?
Yeah, so I went for my normal Starbucks matcha latte with a croissant. It's like my drive-in meal. And I had on my Knicks hat because my hair's straight and like the humidity in Florida and stuff, I didn't want like the top to get crazy. So I had on my Knicks cap and I'm paying for it. And the guy behind me goes, no, I got this. Knicks fans unite. And he opened up his sweatshirt and he had on a Brunson shirt underneath it. And I was like, you know what? It's going to be a good day. Go Knicks.
You guys are everywhere. Bill is evidently fleeing because Knicks fans are everywhere. Bill, you're going to be gone the rest of the week.
Yeah, I'm just worried there's going to be any coffee on the island. So you know Catalina Island off of the coast of basically LA. I'm taking my son camping. I'm one of the chaperones. Apparently there's no doors. Kids get sick on the boat. I'm not sure if there's any coffee. So
you also
send good
can't
wishes.
swim.
I'm not a great swimmer. They told me I still have to go snorkeling. I told the people in charge, I'm not a great swimmer. And they go, you're just going to have to give it a try. Okay, so if I don't come back, it was great working with you guys. It was so wonderful.
It's been real, Bill.
He had a great run. We'll see if he comes back on Monday. All right, later in today's show, the Knicks, Ashley's Knicks beat the Pacers to take game one. Pat Riley had some spicy words for Jimmy Butler, and we'll preview the 2 second-round series that get underway tonight. But first, wow. The Nuggets and the Wolves, we thought that the Nuggets were going to bounce back. That did not happen. Wolves blow them out on their floor to take a 2-0 series lead. They are 6-0 this postseason. That's the longest win streak in franchise history. The Nuggets, they only scored 80 points. That's a season low for them in points. Only the second back-to-back loss all season. Only the second time the defending champs have lost the first 2 games of a series at home in NBA history. The last time it happened, the only other time it happened, was the Lakers in 2011, and they ended up getting swept by the Mavs. So not great. Afterwards, Michael Malone was asked about the vibes, and here's what he had to say.
It's going to be a challenge. The body language of our guys, is not where I think it needs to be, but we just got beat up in our building. We got embarrassed in front of our fans. The good thing is we don't play till Friday. We have a chance to kind of get away and think about what we want to do moving forward.
Bill, that did not sound great. He didn't like their body language. They got embarrassed in their building. He said that they got beat up in front of our fans. Who saw this coming? We didn't.
Yeah, by the way, he also was much calmer than when he went ballistic on the official and should have been at least teed up and maybe kicked out. I think, for me, the most disconcerting thing is not even being down 2-0, though obviously that's not ideal, or losing a game when Rudy Gobert wasn't there, the guy that will be the defensive player of the year, or even just the general score of the game. And he's right. The body language, the defeatism, the frustration from Malone losing his mind. By the way, early, it's not like that was a fourth quarter blow up, to Jamal Murray throwing a heat pack on the floor for which maybe he'll be suspended, maybe he won't, to making the money sign, to the general body language of Nikola Jokic. This actually looks like a team they're the defending champions. They have the best player on earth. They've been battle tested, and they look like they've been punched in the face and don't know how to fight in the slightest. That's the most disconcerting thing. And the coach is part of it, but Malone's right. These guys look beat. They look totally and utterly shocked that they are facing this against the Timberwolves, and their inability to just carry themselves with a little dignity and a little restraint and a little understanding. It is really troubling for what comes for them the rest of this series.
No, I mean, absolutely right. Agree with every single thing you said. I think that's been the biggest thing for me, right? They look like they're in a frenzy. There's one thing about being in a frenzy, and there's one thing about letting somebody know you're in a frenzy. And it's so uncharacteristic of this Denver Nuggets team, because I have said time and time again, one of the things that impresses me the most about this team, or at least has impressed me the most about this team, is that they remain calm, cool, and collective even when they're in a deficit. And it reminds me very much of like the San Antonio Spurs with like the Tim Duncan, Tony Parker kind of era. They never get too high, get too low. It's very even-keeled, possession by possession, take it minute by minute. This is so drastically uncharacteristic of them. They just look like they keep getting hit and they're not standing up fast enough to punch back. And also, speaking about the press conference, I mean, Michael Malone, everything he's saying, I definitely don't disagree with. You can visually see it. But then Jokic was asked about, the situation in these two games and, what's it like being down 0-2, especially with the series kicking off at home. And for lack of a better, this is not going to be a direct quote, so this is not verbatim, but they asked him, can you guys come back from this? And he goes, I don't know, we'll see. Like Jokic, listen, I know you're very much nonchalant. We love that about you, the 9-to-5 basketball player. You really want to be with your horses, but come on, man, you're the leader of the team. I need a little bit more juice from you. I don't know, we'll see is crazy.
I listened to a great Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast about how much Jokic loves his horses, so I encourage everybody to go listen to that. But you're right. I mean, it has been very casual, and it's been casual for them pretty much all season. I mean, don't forget that after the All-Star break, Jokic had to send out a text message to the team and be like, hey, it's time for us to kick it into gear. Well, they did post All-Star break, and then they get into that series against the Lakers, and then they were slow starters again. And we discussed it on this show. It's one thing to start slow against the Lakers and know that you can come back. It's another thing to start slow against this Wolves team that plays tenacious defense all game long. And, Rudy Gobert, they didn't even have him last night.
That's for sure.
They're not the Lakers. Rudy Gobert is about to win the Defensive Player of the Year award today. They didn't have him last night. I thought, good for Rudy Gobert for keeping the most important thing, staying with his family for the birth of his first child. But I also thought it was going to be a big boon for the Denver Nuggets, right? You take him out of the middle of the defense, and instead, Karl Anthony Towns looked awesome. Ant looked awesome. Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jaden McDaniels were picking up Jamal Murray full court. Bill, this defense, we talked about it. Yeah, you guys know that I'm probably one of the most bullish people on the Wolves and have been all season, outside of maybe the state of Minnesota. I didn't expect this. I don't think anybody expected it, and it certainly doesn't look like the Nuggets expected it.
No, I think that's the right point. The Nuggets look so shocked. Can I get carried away? Can I just get fully on the bandwagon? Can I jump onto the bandwagon that you've been on and try to drive it? I was trying to. So the surprise factor of this. Yeah, no, I surrender. The surprise factor of this, and the way in which it shocked the Nuggets, right, who have been through battles and obviously won an NBA championship last year. I was trying. There was an echo of a previous team, and I was trying to think, okay, you've got a team that plays in a way that a lot of us thought wasn't going to translate to the playoffs, which is this defense and not great offensively in the regular season. Rudy Gobert in the past, especially in Utah, didn't work out. You've got a team that's got a tortured history of ineptitude, mostly before this season. I don't think that's overstating how bad the Timberwolves have been in their history. You've got a rising superstar that now people are comparing to Jordan, but it feels like it's a little bit too much. A team that, lost in the first round of the playoffs last year, but really haven't done anything else. That's the only building block that suddenly, and again, maybe I'm getting carried away, looks like maybe we'll look back at this series and say that's when we realized the Timberwolves were legit as an actual long-term Western Conference power if they pay all these guys. And it's when we realized Anthony Edwards was more than just a star. It reminds me so much of that Warriors team from 2015. When people doubted Steph Curry, when Charles Barkley said he can't win shooting three-point shots, that team also had the best defense in the NBA, just like the Timberwolves. And the players in the NBA, and this isn't true for Ant, but so doubted what Steph Curry and that Warriors team had done. If you remember this, Steph got that MVP, and the Players Association created their own MVP to basically say the media doesn't know what they're doing. We're going to give it to the right guy. It was James Harden. And that team, in retrospect, we know what the Warriors are. They win a bunch of championships. They go on to win 73 games one year and not win the title that year. Steph's probably conservatively a top 12 player of all time. I'd put him higher. But in 2015, to a lot of people, it felt like an anomaly, and we were getting carried away as they went through that postseason. Maybe the Nuggets will come storming back. Maybe it's an illusion. But it just feels like the same surprise where the Clippers didn't see that coming back then, and the Thunder didn't see that coming, and LeBron had no idea that was going to be the impediment to a huge part of his legacy. All of a sudden, I'm taking Anthony Edwards and the way they built this Timberwolves team as seriously as I should have 4 weeks ago. Credit to you, John. I think this is real, and I think it's real in a way that's going to go past just this year.
I also want to point I also want to point something out too. I mean, we keep talking about the defense for the Timberwolves, but if we can throw that graphic up one more time comparing the Wolves to the Nuggets, I mean, what has impressed me a lot about this series, too, is not just their defense. We knew that they were a top three, the number one rated defense in the NBA. They're killing them on the boards. They're killing them in the paint, and that was without Rudy Gobert in one of those games. They're killing them from the three-point line. They're killing them in the field. But one thing I love about this comparison, look at that assist number, 28 assists to 16. They're playing team basketball. That ball is constantly moving. It's flowing. It's just a direct contrast to how stagnant the Nuggets have been. They look like a team that has not played together, which is just mind-boggling because of how long it took them to get to the point to win a championship. This is a homegrown team. These guys know each other. They know the ins and the outs, and you would never know that looking at the way that they have played. That assist number is huge to me, and that is one of the things that I'm the most impressed. That chemistry, that fluidity of the Timberwolves is something that a lot of teams don't do well, and they have mastered that in addition to everything else. It's very, very impressive.
I'm just blown away by how well the defense has translated to this postseason. I mean, they've been playing through their defense all season, and I think we were all like, all right, that's during the regular season. Let's see what happens in the playoffs. And last night, 12 blocks, 11 steals, 19 points off of turnovers. I mean, they harassed the hell out of the Nuggets last night. And now Game 3 in Minnesota is not until Friday, so they have the whole week, the Nuggets do, to think about what just happened to them. A lot of time for everybody to get in their heads. All right, coming up, the Knicks keep finding ways to win. They get the first game of that series, so we're going to discuss that. That's next on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. John, Ashley, and Bill here on a Tuesday. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please download, subscribe, leave us a review. All right, Knicks and Pacers. Second round series got underway last night, and Ashley's New York Knicks found a way to win again. They defeat the Pacers 121-117 to take a 1-0 series lead. All 5 starters were in double figures. All 5 starters were positive, plus minus. And the weird thing here, Ashley, and I thought it was going to catch up to them eventually, is that they played at Indiana's pace. That was a fast-paced game. It didn't resemble what we saw in the first round, really, against the Philadelphia 76ers. I thought that that was going to end up hampering the Knicks. Joke's on me. Brunson went for 43 and 6. He was 14 of 14 from the line. He's the first player since Michael Jordan to go for 40 in 4 straight playoff games, and he's the first player ever to go for 40 and 5 assists in 4 straight. They're jamming right now.
Yeah, I mean, when previewing this series, I said that it's going to come down to really who's retaining most of the possessions because of just how much of high volume shots that the Pacers are able to put up. And also, they have a lot of offensive weapons, and the Knicks obviously missing Julius Randle has kind of hurt them a little bit offensively when it comes to the target that's put on Brunson's back, although he obviously 43 points had figured out a way to move around that. But the Knicks retain about 37% of those offensive rebounds, which were monumental in giving those extra possessions, those second chance opportunities, sometimes those third chance opportunities. You need to go ahead and put the ball in your hands more than the other team in order to give yourself the best chance, especially, I mean, look at this, 117, 121. I mean, that's a lot of points. So it came down to possessions. It also came down to rebounds. I think that bench points is a huge discrepancy, so the Knicks are at a little bit of a deficit there, not because they don't have the bench points.
Big deficit.
Not because they don't have the bench, but more because Tibbs doesn't like to utilize his bench, as we know. Because the guys are there, you know, at his disposal, but he seems to, you know, forget they're there, whether by convenience or by design. But listen, I always said that this was going to be a fast-paced, high-scoring series. And it turned out to be just that, at least in game 1. But shout out to the Knicks for handling business on their home court, as they should.
All true. Credit to the Knicks. We should add also monumental was the officiating ridiculousness in the fourth quarter and the Pacers giving away parts of that game. If you were going to break this into a pie chart of how the Pacers lost a game where they were the better basketball team for 5.5 minutes of the game, it is 1/3 the Knicks' excellence that Ash just walked us through. Not just Jalen Brunson, those Villanova guys, the 4.5 guys that Tibbs lets play during the game. They were awesome. It's 1/3 the Pacers being just careless turnovers. The foul when they fouled Brunson on the inbounds play before the ball was in and gave him a technical foul and allowed him to get to 2 possessions. That is absolutely unacceptable. But give me a break on the Miles Turner moving screen. That is ridiculous, and you cannot miss in that moment the kick ball call that was actually just a great defensive play. I didn't even realize that you can't challenge a kick ball because that's such a dumb rule. It's never been. So Ash, you're right. The Knicks played great, but the Pacers should have won that game. And 2/3 of the reason had to do with the Pacers being really just not smart at the end of the game. And come on, officials. I mean, it's the second round of the playoffs.
Well,
you got to
let's discuss the officials thing for a second here, because I think by and large, my general take is, calls get missed both ways, but that was pretty glaring. I thought the Miles Turner moving screen was pretty soft. I mean, it's a Knicks-Pacers series. If that had happened the last time they played,
DiVincenzo sold
Dante
it. So
sold
what?
the hell out of it.
So what? He sold it. Okay, the moving screen.
If it was the other way around, Ashley, you would lose your mind.
No, listen.
If it was the other way around, you would lose your mind.
I'm not saying that it's not a frustrating call. He sold it. He happened to get the call in his favor. If it were the other way around, I would feel the same way. He sold it. The refs took the bait. But if you actually look at the way the game broke down, second chance points, the Knicks got 6 more of them than the Pacers did. They killed them. The Pacers did better in the paint, but also if you look at fast break points, 20-18, but again, it's those rebounds, 40-32. Those second chance opportunities make a huge difference throughout the course of the game. So yes, we can go ahead and talk about the two
only because of that call.
We can go ahead.
May not make a difference without that call.
What do you mean? It's 40-32. It's throughout the entire game.
I mean, if they don't make that call and the Pacers score and win the game, it doesn't matter. They got out rebound. It just doesn't matter. That call, that call was very significant.
It was
to the outcome
pretty big. I think it's interesting
That's not why the
too.
Knicks won the game, though. Like, it's not.
I think it's
one third.
I think it's interesting that they can't review the kicked ball, right? Because that is also a big momentum swing. I mean, they were asked about it afterwards. The refs were asked about it afterwards, and they said because they didn't review it because it's not you can't, and then you're not allowed to challenge it either. So it's just a really curious way that the NBA would adjudicate that, because it's a stop ball anyway, right? I mean, you're like checking out the monitor every 5 seconds for everything else. Why not go over there and check it out? But to Ashley's point, Rick Carlisle was asked about it afterwards, and he said he's not expecting to get calls in New York. It's nice if they had laid off of that one, and also the one where Dante flopped like a soccer player, which, credit to him, his acting skills are very good. But he says that's just the way it goes. They wanted to challenge it and review it, and, what can you do? He just kind of brushed it off.
I'm curious if everybody feels the same way about these last 2 calls as they do about the officiating in the entirety of the game. There's 4 quarters of basketball, and in 3.5 of the game, and 3.5 of the quarters on both sides. I'm not saying it was solely, calls for New York. On both sides, officiating was not great in that game 1 of this series. Officiating, in my opinion, has not been great in the playoffs. If you want to go back to the 76ers Knicks series, officiating was not great. So, I understand that people want to go ahead and zero in on one specific call or 2 specific calls. But if you're going to have that energy about that, have it as for the entirety of the playoffs. Officiating has not been great on both sides.
End of the game. One possession. Pacers have the ball, the chance to take the lead and maybe win.
You and I both know that did not determine the outcome of the game. Stop it.
Oh, Ash.
No, it didn't.
I promise you, I would bet everything I own and get my money back and more than I owe John if this were not the Knicks that it benefited.
I just said Dante sold it. And the refs took the bait. I'm not saying he didn't. He flopped. But that's not what determined the outcome of the game. I disagree that determined the outcome of the game. I disagree that it did.
All right. Okay. It was a significant moment. We can agree to disagree on whether or not it was something that caused the Knicks to win the game. I will say, though, that the Knicks, quite clearly, the Nova Knicks played out of their heads in this game. And this is something that I wanted to bring up to you, because you have Jalen Brunson, who is right now on an absolute heater, right? And then across the way, you've got Tyrese Haliburton, who I think is a very good player, but has struggled post All-Star break with an injury. Last night, 6 points on 6 shots. He has not looked like himself in quite some time. And I just wonder if the Pacers can keep up with the Knicks without that. And also, how stark is that contrast? You're watching those 2 guys go at each other, right? And one of these guys is going to be on Team USA, and the other guy is Jalen Brunson.
Listen, I mean, there was a lot of dissecting of Team USA when it came to a few names, right? Some people were wondering why Kyrie wasn't on it. Some people were wondering why Joel Embiid was on it. And Tyrese Haliburton also was one of the bigger names. I mean, look at this comparison between the both of them. It's absolutely insane. Now, I don't want to go ahead and say someone doesn't deserve to play for their country and to represent their country. But, I mean, if you're going to go ahead and put the best team forward, which is what Team USA is, it's a compilation of a compilation rather of the best of the best coming from this country to represent us in the Olympics. I don't see how, with the way that Jalen Brunson has been playing in contrast to Tyrese Haliburton, again, that's not a knock to say he's not good. That's not a knock to say he's not a factor, but to put the best of the best and send them over there to go ahead and represent the country, I don't see how you make that decision that he's better than Jalen Brunson with everything that Jalen Brunson has done, is doing, and now seeing them side by side that he's not doing, he being Tyrese Haliburton. I still don't get it, personally.
Bill, I'd take him over Haliburton and Booker right now, I think.
I would too. Oh yeah, both those. I mean, he has announced himself, and really quick, I know we got to go. You're right about, can the Pacers keep up with the Knicks with Haliburton playing the way he is, but at the same time, can the Knicks physically keep up with the Pacers at this pace of play if they're going to play 6.5 guys over the course of the game? So it's going to be really interesting how a lot of because it's such a close game, and it feels like the Knicks win all these close games and they play close games, advantage Knicks. But I'll be curious if Tibbs doesn't expand his rotation a little bit and the Pacers can continue to dictate the tempo just from a physical level. That's got to catch up to the Knicks either in this series or if they advance in the conference finals.
Putting Tibbs and expanding the rotation in the same sentence will never not be funny. It's funny.
You're right.
That is definitely the way he, we have to move on here, and it's a shame because we didn't even get to talk about the actual best point guard in this series, TJ McConnell, the bench monster, former 76er, who's just been absolutely killing it. But we'll save that for another time. Coming up, we're going to get into Pat Riley versus Jimmy Butler and the spicy words that are happening down in Miami. That's next on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. We're a podcast, we're a TV show on CBS Sports Network. You can also find us on YouTube at Beyond the Arc CBS. Subscribe to our page, hit the like button, leave us a comment, all that good stuff. See all this stuff chopped up that you can digest as well. All right, we got to get into Miami. Very interesting things happening down in Ashley's neck of the woods. So Jimmy Butler, he was at the F1 race, probably eating $180 nachos and drinking who knows how much a drink would cost. But he, as we know, missed the postseason because he had a knee injury in the Sixers series in the play-in game. And he was asked about, hey, or maybe he wasn't even asked about it. He set it up himself and basically was like, if I was playing, other teams wouldn't be. Here's what he had to say.
Video this. You got it? Yep. 1, 2, 3, action. If I was playing, Boston would be at home. New York, damn sure would be at home. Josh Hart. That mean to me. Josh Hart. Yo. Come on, man. Nah. I love Tibbs, but I don't want to. I love Tibbs. I love you, baby. I want to beat you to a pulp. You want me, I don't want you. It's like a one-sided relationship. You in love with me, and I love you, but I'm not in love with you. You know what I'm saying?
Very Jimmy being Jimmy there. He thinks Boston would be out. He thinks Ashley's Knicks damn sure would be out. Josh Hart, who's been playing awesome, caught some strays in that one too. So not surprisingly, in his exit interview, Pat Riley was asked about this, and Pat Riley, being Pat Riley, did not shy away from what he really thinks about it.
For him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams.
Well,
as we were listening to that, and my phone just went off with an emergency alert. I think that it was worried about heat culture. It's freaking out. Ashley, which side you got here? You with Jimmy or Pat Riley?
I mean, obviously I'm with Pat Riley, and as a Knicks fan, I never thought I would say that, given our history. But Pat Riley is a godfather for a reason, and whether you love him, hate him, whether you have history with him like the Knicks do, you have to respect that, he's about his business and he's about winning. And he has put together winning teams for so long, so many parts of his career, that he doesn't have time for all of that. And yes, listen, Jimmy has a reputation of being a little bit of a troll and being a little bit childish and kind of poking the bear. But if you're going to do that, you got to back that up. You know, he did the whole thing with the Boston Celtics series, a series that he wasn't playing in, where he put the Photoshop on top of the Jaylen Brown tweet or quote where he said, "Don't let us get one." And then what happened? Miami didn't get another one, and now they're in Cancun. And with this situation, you know, the Knicks are in the playoffs. You are not. So it's just a compilation of like all these different things of, you know, Jimmy kind of trolling, but not really being in the situation to, or rather being in the driver's seat to go ahead and do such things. You're not in the playoffs. You know, there's a lot of questions about whether or not Miami should even pay you. You know, Pat Riley in that same press conference said, look, we love Jimmy, but paying someone who's only available for part of the season is not a good business decision. Like, Jimmy, your priorities are out of whack. Don't worry about New York. New York's playing basketball right now. That's something you're not doing. You're at F1 chilling. I was at F1 chilling too. But you know what? I'm not trolling the Knicks. I got to respect people who are doing things that I'm not doing. So listen, sometimes don't let your mouth write a check your you-know-what can't cash, you know?
Bill, what are we thinking there?
John, I'm just so relieved you also got the emergency alert, because my nightmare, my great fear is a tsunami, and I don't know why that thing went off, and I thought, I'm going to look calm. We're on CBS Sports Network, but there's a tsunami coming. It's just a test. Don't worry. I'm with Ashley. So there's a couple things. I covered the Heat as a beat writer, and I think I made 80 or 81 of 82 games my first year doing that, and I never, ever, ever saw Pat Riley. He never spoke. I mean, you'd see him in the hallway, but he would not. He speaks one time a year, to us publicly, to the public. That is the postseason press conference, and he's always taking shots. He's always sending messages. I have flown down after I was done covering that team day in, day out, shoot-arounds, practices, all that stuff, when I was a national guy, just to go to the press conference because it's so entertaining. So there's one or two things going on that I think are happening here in some context. One, to Ash's point, this is just who Riles is, and you should keep your mouth shut. And Jimmy shouldn't be trolling two teams that are legitimate finals championship contenders right now that there's no evidence that he could have beat because Jimmy couldn't stay healthy. That is one. But the other thing, especially in the first year, I didn't know what was going on. There'd be a PR guy, nice guy named Tim, and he'd be live texting somebody the questions and answers of every media member to Eric Spoelstra and every player after the game. And it turned out he was sending those things to Pat Riley. Riley is a control freak, and he wants to know always what's going on. And he never says anything without a purpose and a reason. So either he's sending a message to Jimmy and the message is shut the hell up and play more, or if he does want to move on from Jimmy Butler, if he doesn't want the next couple years and $100+ million on there, if he does want Daryl Morey or someone else to kind of get alert and say, oh, there's an there's an opportunity, it could be that too, because Riles doesn't do anything accidentally, and whatever he did is not a mistake. He's not pissing off Jimmy Butler on accident because he's old. I've seen this out there. He doesn't know what he's doing. He is, as Ash said, the Godfather, and the Godfather is always 12 steps ahead of everybody else. So whatever Riles is doing, he's either sending a message to other GMs or to Jimmy Butler, but it's with a purpose, and his history is it probably has an outcome that's good for him and good for the Heat.
I think it's a message to other GMs, because asking Jimmy not to talk and not to be Jimmy is, good luck with that. That's not going to happen. I do think, and Ashley brought this up, and so did Pat Riley, that like, if you're going to pay Jimmy Butler hasn't been around for a lot. He has not played more than 65 games since the 2016-17 season, which was his final year with the Bulls. That's how long ago it was. He only played 60 games this season. In 5 seasons with the Heat, he's averaged 58 games. He's missed 100 regular season games in Miami, which works out to him sitting 26% of the time. So if you're the Heat, and you look, Jimmy's a fantastic player. We saw what he did with them last year where they make that run out of the play-in, but he's going to be 35 next season, and he's owed $48.7 million. After that, the following season, he has a player option at $52.4 million, and he wants a 2-year extension for $113 million. Those are big numbers. Those are big numbers for a guy who isn't around to play. We've heard the rumors about could the Sixers potentially be interested in a reunion between Embiid and his guy Jimmy Butler. Like, they also have to think, other teams have to think, is Jimmy Butler worth that price point at that age when he's not available?
And I actually tweeted this out when the news came out about this, and there were some Heat fans that were 50-50 about this, right? I'm on the side of you, John, where I'm like, look, paying that much money for someone who's hardly available during the regular season, is of a certain age, and may or may not play in the playoffs, That's a lot of money, right? So there were some Heat fans who were like, well, what do you mean may or may not play in the playoffs? He's played every single playoffs except this one. Okay, but this one is the one in most recent memory, and again, he's not getting younger. So the probability that he'll miss another part of the playoffs in some capacity gets higher every year he gets older, especially when you talk about someone who is injury prone. You don't know where his injuries will happen in the regular season and how that will flow into the playoffs. On top of that, it is detrimental to the chemistry of any team when you have your star player, because I believe that he is still their star player, he's the focal point of this team for as long as he is on it, it is detrimental to the chemistry and the flow of the team, especially after the All-Star break, into the flow of the playoffs, to have him coming and going out of the lineup. It is not helpful, it is more hurtful, and we have seen what this team looks like as he comes and goes, just because you're able to survive. And that's why Heat culture is it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. The mindset makes you think mind over matter, right? It doesn't matter where you are in the seating. We can fight through it. We'll power through it. We'll figure it out. But it's hurtful also because it makes you think that the rules don't apply to you, and they do. You're not above the rules. You're not above any other team just because you've been able to go ahead and overcome certain situations in the past. The league changes every single year. It gets better, it gets harder every single year. And if you don't believe me, look at the Western Conference. They can't continue the trajectory that they're on with the way Jimmy Butler continues to approach the regular season and sometimes the playoffs. They just can't.
John, let me throw a quick question at you with your expertise meets your Sixers fandom. If you could slot him in order and preference, if you were Daryl Morey, between LeBron James at 40, Paul George, right? And I'm probably more of a doubter of PG in the 34. Postseason than you are, but you've converted me to, okay, third guy, or Jimmy Butler. Where does that fit on the priority list of those three guys for the Sixers if you're advising Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned LeBron because if you bring in LeBron, it becomes LeBron's team. So, it's hard to say I wouldn't want LeBron because he's the GOAT and he's amazing, but it changes the complexion of that team. If you bring in Jimmy Butler, I think he slots in pretty nicely with those two guys, but it's not my money, but he is 35 and he hasn't been that healthy. Just from a fit component and also just from what he gives you at both ends of the floor, I like Paul George. And I think there'd be less issues with Paul George. I think you just slot him in and you don't have Paul George running off to F1 to challenge the Knicks and the Boston Celtics when you're no longer in the playoffs, right? So I would go Paul George. That would be my choice.
He technically just drove around the corner, so it wasn't a fur commute,
I love him.
He didn't have to get on a plane to go.
For our purposes, excellent content. For the Heat, perhaps less good for them. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to discuss briefly. You guys aren't going to believe who won Rookie of the Year. What a shocker that one was. And then we're also going to discuss the two playoff series that get going tonight. That's coming up next on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Rookie of the Year was announced last night. To the shock of nobody, it was Victor Wembanyama. He was the unanimous pick. He led the league. Yeah, I know. It's really surprising.
Shocking.
He won. He did it. Everybody is blown away by this. Congratulations to the underdog, Victor Wembanyama, for pulling this off. He led the league in blocks with 3.6 per game. On top of that, 1.2 steals per game. He was a defensive monster from the absolute beginning. He's the first player since Shaq in 99-2000 to average 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. Most blocks by a rookie ever, most since Tim Duncan, and he had 48 more than Duncan had in his rookie year. He's about to make all defense. What more can we say about him? He's the prince who was promised, and he has more than delivered.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, shout out to Wemby for being a unanimous Rookie of the Year. If you saw that list, there's not many names on it. And I mean, from David Robinson to Blake Griffin was such a huge gap of time. That's a big deal to be unanimous. Bill, as a voter, you know that. That's a very big deal. So congratulations to him. I also love the video that they did to attach itself to the announcement of being Rookie of the Year. It was like this video room where all the other rookies, or some of the most famous rookie of the years, kind of were giving him congratulations. And his reaction for me was the best part. Wemby is just so humble. And I know that we don't really care about athletes being humble, or maybe most people don't. I actually like an athlete who kind of just knows how good they are, but doesn't have to always showboat it. I enjoy the showboating, but I also enjoy kind of the other side of that, which is why Tim Duncan was one of my favorite athletes, and some other guys in the league currently. But congratulations to him. I just think that he's such a super nice, sweet guy who shuts his life down at 9 p.m. so he can read his book and doesn't want to be bothered, and just wants to hoop and has such high expectations for himself, and he's so mature for his age. Wemby is going to be the gift that keeps on giving for many years. So congratulations.
Dirty little secret of NBA media and writers is we just root for ourselves. Whatever our story we want to write, wherever we want to spend. I'm as big a Knicks fan as you are, because I love New York City, Ash, and there's some restaurants I want to eat at in June when we're all hanging out there. So this is the same thing. Thank you, Wemby, for making that vote the easiest vote I've ever cast in my entire life. There have been some votes where, like, Jokic this year for one, but I had to think about it for a second. This was thoughtless. It was easy. You put his name there. You put Chet too. Cool. Who cares? Brandon Miller third. Nobody cares. So congratulations, utterly unanimous, and probably the beginning of having some very easy decisions to put him at the top of awards ballots for years to come.
Did you vote for Blake Griffin unanimous? Was he an easy vote for you too?
I did not vote that year. My only sort of was that it. What was the year he jumped over the car? So my two Blake Griffin story are Blake Griffin screaming at me
2010 maybe?
During an interview. Yeah, well, here are my two Blake Griffin stories. Him screaming at me in an interview and then showing up super drunk 4 nights later at a table next to me and side-eyeing me, and me also having had some things to drink and thinking I'm not going to say hi, and sitting next to Jackie McMullen, the amazing NBA writer, and holding my breath and her turning to me and saying, I think he's going to wipe out on the car too, when he jumped over the Kia. But no, I didn't.
Did you do Karl Anthony Towns? Did you put that
I
vote
think
in?
so. If I did, I obviously voted for him. Because he was unanimous, wasn't he? Yeah, I probably did.
Well, I mean, Victor being unanimous makes a lot of sense. I mean, early in the year, we had talked about, or at least I had talked about that, hey, I didn't think it was a foregone conclusion because Chet Holmgren was playing really significant minutes for a team that finished first atop the Western Conference. And then that changed and the conversation was absolutely over. But as Ashley said, kudos to Victor Wembanyama. But meanwhile, Chet Holmgren, who finishes second, he's still playing. The Thunder is still playing. They kick off their series against the Mavericks tonight. The Thunder won their first round series against the Pelicans in a sweep. They're the youngest team ever to win a series. The Mavericks polished off the Clippers in 6 games. During the regular season, OKC won 3 of 4. They both averaged around 109 points. I know that initially we thought that Wolves and Nuggets was going to be the series of the second round. I'm changing it to this one. Now I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think I'm excited about this for 2 reasons. One, the defensive aspect of both these teams, right? I think the OKC was a 4th-rated defense this season. Yeah. And then you have the Dallas Mavericks, who in the beginning of the season, not known for their defense, but down the stretch and in the playoffs have really committed to their defensive schemes. I mean, they got Luka out there playing defense. So it's going to be a battle of that. I think the battle of how OKC shuts down Luka and Kyrie, but also this Thunder team is young. They're deep. And also they're healthier than I feel like the Mavs are right now. So it's a lot of contrast, but there's also a lot of similarities. I think this series goes 7. I don't see it ending before that. I could be wrong, but I think it goes 7.
Yeah, this is just a reminder of how much fun the playoffs are and how many teams it feels like you can legitimately believe can win these series and make the conference finals. Thunder, one of 2 teams in the NBA in the top 4, to your point, Ash, in offensive and defensive rating. The other is the Celtics. That historically almost always means that you're going to at least be in the NBA finals. But the Mavs are really fun. And look, Kyrie Irving has come under criticism, certainly by me and other people over the years, but let's give him credit. He has found a place that's brought out, it seems like, the best version of himself as a teammate and a player. As Ash said, they're playing great defense. I think that Luka Doncic guy, I think he's got a future. So this is both of these teams. I was thinking about this. If the Timberwolves can beat the Nuggets, and obviously they can, I need to probably recalibrate just how I view the Western Conference and maybe the playoffs in general. This idea of parity, I think, is real, which means the winner of Mavs Thunder can absolutely make the finals.
Well,
and if you can make the finals, you can win it.
I wanted to ask you and John a question, because we've on this pod have had the conversations about, teams that can win the finals, can go to the finals and can't, right? If the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets, which it looks like, and if the Thunder beat the Mavs, which is a possibility, Do you change your mindset on young teams being championship caliber teams?
I mean, I changed my mind. So it's a good question. I've already changed my mind on the Timberwolves because I think Anthony Edwards, John, you and I have discussed it on HQ, and we've talked about it here, Ash, all three of us in the pod. I think he's just different gravy, and I think that entire team, even though he's a kid by NBA standards, is following his lead. Yeah, if the Thunders make the conference finals and battle their way through to either winning that series or fighting, absolutely. I think the test of their youth happens against this Mavs team. So, for me, TBD on what that means.
This is a tough series for me because, as you guys know, I was an early adopter of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then I was very bullish on the Mavs post All-Star break. So now it's two of my teams that I've really enjoyed watching this season. I'm going to take the Thunder in 7. Ash?
I'm going to go Mavs in 7.
Okay. I'm going to go Thunder win on the road, Thunder in 6.
Thunder in 6. All right, two Thunder, 1 Mavs. We'll see how that one shakes out. We got one more series to preview. It's the Celtics and the Cavs. That also tips off tonight. We'll discuss that next, coming up on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to a Tuesday edition of Beyond the Arc. Wrapping it up with the Celtics and the Cavs series. That begins tonight. Celtics beat the Heat in 5 games. The Cavs needed 7 to get past the Magic. No surprise here. Celtics are heavy favorites, Bill. Minus 1,200 in the series. Any shot that the Cavs give them a series?
No. I was trying to decide whether I have the guts to say the Cavs will win a game. All right, so I still think that there's a really important question about Boston when they're tested, and we've talked about the deep dive on clutch stats and Tatum struggles and the Celtics struggles, but that's not going to be this series. That'll be the conference finals. Yeah, I don't think it matters, though. It'll matter in the conference finals. So I'll go very generously because my wife is from Ohio and her entire family are Cavs fans. This is as generous as I can be, my family in Ohio. I will go Boston in 5.
I think it actually goes 6, only because Boston has a reputation of playing with their food. You saw that in the Hawks series where last season they took them 7 games to close that series out. But listen, the Celtics have a better defense than the Magic did with a more lethal offense. I think that the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell has been fantastic, but I think the rest of the Cavs have been a little bit questionable. I don't think it's going to be enough for him to carry this team on his back like I believe that he did for most of, if not all of that Magic series. So I'm going to go Celtics in 6.
Wow, you guys are giving
John, you want to be
Cavs
brave?
way more credit. This is an absolute sweep. No. I'm shocked that they're even playing this series. Cleveland should have just dipped out against the Magic and said, forget about it. And it's kind of ridiculous. I realize, we discussed this previously, and Ashley's right. Donovan Mitchell has been playing well, but Darius Garland hadn't been playing well. Jarrett Allen's dealing with a rib injury. Who knows what he's going to look like? I thought Mobley was looking pretty good without him out there, but they've got decisions to make this offseason. I realize that they sort of tanked their way into playing the Magic so that they could win a series and be like, hey, Don, look, we didn't get bounced 2 years in a row in the first round. Isn't it great here in Cleveland? Maybe you should stick around, but
don't fire us. Don't fire us for the coach and the GM.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But now all of a sudden you're running into a juggernaut, and I think you're right. It probably doesn't matter if Kristaps plays or not. I would just be shocked if they take a game off of Boston.
I don't think I would be shocked. You've seen Boston kind of, again, take their foot off the gas, if you will, and not kind of demolish a team the way that they should have. They should have swept Miami, but they didn't do that. They should have swept the Hawks last year. They didn't do that. I mean, the Cavs, I feel like, are better equipped to at least get a game or 2 on them, especially if Boston kind of chills and lays back like we have seen them do time and time again. I don't think it's, unheard of that it happens.
I'm with John. I'm just being nice to my family in Ohio.
Sweep.
I'm totally with John.
Sweep. Minus 1,200. And our favorite CBS Sports predictive model has Celtics to win this at 88%. So certainly seems like, I don't know. It's uphill sledding for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have a lot of work to do this offseason. And we've done all of our work for today. That's going to be it for us for today. We're back at it tomorrow on CBS Sports Network at 2 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check us out. But for now, for our NBA insider Bill Ryder, for Ashley Nicole Moss, I'm John Gonzalez. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you tomorrow.